Last episode we made the event impossible to lose and paid for it with duplicates. So now a payment received event arrives twice, and your handler does what it was told. It credits the account twice. The customer is delighted, briefly. This is not an edge case you can push to the backlog, because at least once is not a bug in your broker, it is the contract. Kafka will redeliver after a rebalance. Your relay will republish after a crash. A retry that timed out but actually succeeded will come back around. The question was never whether duplicates happen, it is only whether your handler notices. It is worth knowing the sources because they are not exotic. The relay publishes a row and dies before marking it sent, so on restart, it publishes again. A consumer processes a batch and dies before committing its offset, so it rereads from the last committed point and reprocesses everything after it. A consumer group rebalances and a partition moves mid-batch. And the client-side one people forget. Your service calls the mainframe, the call times out, so you retry, but the first call actually succeeded and the response just got lost. Every one of those is normal operation. None of them is a failure anyone will page you about. The duplicates are simply arriving, quietly, all the time. The fix is to give every message an identity and to remember what you have already done, an idempotency key, a stable identifier that is the same on the duplicate as it was on the original. Before doing the work, check whether you have seen that key. If yes, do nothing and acknowledge. If no, do the work and record the key in the same transaction as the work, because if those two are separate, you have just recreated the dual write problem you solved last episode. And now the interesting question, which people get wrong. Where does the key come from? Not from the consumer, because a duplicate must produce the same key. Not from a timestamp or a random value for the same reason. It has to come from the message. The best key is one that already exists in the business, because then it is meaningful and stable by nature. A payment reference, a claim number, an order ID. If the message is about a real thing that has an identity, use it, and your dedupe becomes a statement about the domain. This payment has been applied. The fallback is a synthetic key, generated once by the producer and carried in the message envelope. And that works fine as long as everyone understands that it must be generated at creation, never at send. Or a retry produces a fresh key and defeats the whole thing. And watch for the trap of using the offset or a message ID your broker assigns, because those change on republish. The key must identify the event, not the delivery of it. One category deserves separate treatment, and it is the one that reaches the customer. Updating a row is naturally forgiving. Setting a status to lapsed twice leaves it lapsed. Incrementing a counter is not, and sending an email is in a different class entirely, because it left your system and you cannot recall it, which is how someone gets 9 identical notifications at 2 in the morning. So for anything with an external side effect, claim the key first, commit, and only then perform the effect, accepting that a crash in that gap means it might not happen at all. That is a real trade, and you should make it consciously. For a notification, missing one is better than sending 9. For a payment, neither is acceptable, which is why payments get their own reconciliation rather than trusting any of this. So messages arrive, possibly twice, and our handlers no longer care. But a business process is not one message. It is 5 services doing 5 things that must all happen or none of them, and there is no database transaction spanning any of it. The payment succeeded, the reservation failed, and there is nothing to roll back. Next episode, Sagas. See you there.